right. So, welcome to the main topic. Yeah, this episode already has been running long, but you love us, so you're gonna enjoy it anyway. Um, is Spring 2025 the worst anime season ever? And I don't know who actually posed this question in the
I'm
group
guessing it's
first.
Mitts. I
Okay.
feel like it's
And
Mitts.
and knowing, oh, I love the T-shirt. I love
Yeah,
it.
Super Mario T-shirt from Uniqlo, I think. I can't remember. It's got all the
Ooh,
It's got all the
nice.
Yoshis. Yeah, Yoshi's
Good quality too. Uniqlo makes some good stuff.
Yeah, you can see
Not
my,
sponsored.
You can see my nipples through this shirt too. Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So you're the one who asked the question: is Spring 2025 the worst anime season ever?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yes, that's
And
my question.
What brought you to this conclusion? Why did you come up with this theory or concept or thesis?
Well, so my first thought is that I've never seen so many mid and boring fucking anime in my life. I've watched something like 15 or 18 2-episode chunks, 3-episode chunks from this season, and it is just my opinion from a grumpy fucking guy who's about to hit the 40 mark. I just can't believe how fucking boring some of this shit is. I still think the Gundam show is the best show of the season, and it's not even close to the top of the ranking. And I just think people just don't like mecha. But listen, I got some info here, right? This season only has 2 anime that are higher than an 8 of a score on my anime list. This is all based on my anime list. And neither of them are new anime. One of them is Black Butler, and the other one is Pretty Derby. And I added up every single score from this season, and the average score for the season is a 6.8. And I think that's pretty fucking bad. That's bad. And by the way, I did not include To Be Hero X because that's not anime. But
According to you,
according to
for me,
me,
it passes the vibe check. For me, it passes the anime vibe check. But
I'd like to hear.
That's a different.
I'd like to hear why real quick.
Well, one, if you don't think it's anime, then you are currently losing our bet on AI because the AI anime article I sent you was from a production company that is not in Japan. It is, I think, primarily Chinese. And
I can't remember the bet, but I'm happy to lose it.
And I will say this is something that Raggedy and I both ended up agreeing on when we had the discussion with some others about what makes anime and whatnot. It's more of a vibe check for me. I'm more than willing to give a little bit more flexibility and blur the lines and get a little more gray in what anime is. And I personally believe that the Japanese definition of anime, which is just an animated thing, should have more credence than our Western identity of anime. So my go-to is Blue-Eyed Samurai. Kojima came out and said at the time that was one of the best anime that he had ever seen. He is a Japanese man using that word to describe what is not normally considered a not Japanese anime as anime, and therefore I'm more than willing to follow that definition. So I think To Be Hero X does pass the anime vibes check. But that's what I call it, is the anime vibes check.
It's going to take me a while to recover from To Be Hero X.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically,
yeah.
the season's just bad. Like, there's just not a lot of good shows. And so I wrote down, Lady Emery's got, like, fucking calculus down here. What the fuck am I looking
Stolen
at?
calculus.
This is not, yeah. We had totally different approaches. I went back about 20 seasons and wrote down how many shows had better than an 8 as of a score. And there are really only, there's really only 2 seasons other than this one that have only 2 or less shows that have, an 8 or more. And I did write down a few seasons that I thought were possibly worse that we can look at. But let me put it like this. If you go back to the last spring, we had 12 anime that had better than an 8 on my anime list. And this season, you only have 2, unless you include To Be Hero X, in which case you'd have 3, which is just very different. That's a big difference. 3 versus 12. What the fuck is going on? So, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Oh, boy.
So
Yeah, you go. You start, Andrew.
I don't
you
have
start.
like a crazy. You're the one with all the data, so I'm just gonna yap away like I normally do.
Yap away.
It's interesting because I think what's interesting about this season is that it is very middle of the road, which is interesting when you say something like worst season ever. It feels like this season is the least swingy of all the seasons I've seen. All the shows I've watched, impressions or even caught up, right? Other than like some of the really interesting or good shows that I've enjoyed a lot, but maybe for my own personal reasons, have all just been middle of the road. No show has been terribly bad. Even the shows that I think people didn't like Dinner Table Detective, is if you don't like that, it's still very competently made and just very okay if you didn't like it, right? You may not like that comedy, which maybe you rate it lower or not, but like I think like what's interesting about this being, I don't know if this is the worst season, but it's definitely probably the middest season, spring season I think we've ever had for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I think what I want to get into is what makes like good art and thus good anime for you is very different than what it is for me. And just even talking about Mal. So you are looking exclusively at Mal. We're not going to take into account AnyList, which allows for decimal point systems. It allows for things like Scott Pilgrim to be included in its list making. So like it might have things that Mal doesn't have. The breakdown that I provided that I'm not going to go into detail on because it is just a lot of numbers is showing how they weight the scores, but you have to take into account that means that people are finishing a season. The minimum votes that are included in this are always going to be at 50. You can't on Mal, from my understanding, use a decimal point system, so you have to, and normally what people do is round up. And so there's just, I think there's faults in a rating system. People are going to rate things differently. You'll, of course, always have the Full Metal Alchemist trolls out there that are going to lower a show regardless of if they actually find it good or not. And just scoring in general is just such a subjective art, and we all get to have our own opinions at it. And so to call something the worst ever, well, if you go all the way back to like 1996, 1997, there was a person on Reddit who posted the average Mal scores for every season in the past 40 years, and those tanked in the 90s. Like they had some really low
but you
scores
can't.
there.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So basically, I'm gonna get a little condescending here, and I apologize. Not necessarily to you guys, but some people that might be listening.
No, I feel like it's important to like not to get condescending, but like to have this argument and debate so that we get
That's fine.
multiple sides. So yeah, I think you should go for it.
So my first thought is that I don't think there's any difference between my anime list and my anime list and Annie list. Although I'm gonna make a guess and say my anime list is probably like by an exponent bigger than Annie list. Otherwise, Sony would have been paying the $100 million for Annie list, which they did not. But I don't think there's any difference. I think the conversation between the two is kind of hilarious, and I would be willing to do this right now, even though it's kind of taking us off track. I bet that we could pull any anime you can think of, look them up on both websites, and I bet they have about the same score. Because I don't think there's any difference. I think I've done this before.
Okay. Yep.
So if I look up Fire Force Season 3, we can test this briefly.
Yeah, let's do. Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah,
here's Fire Force Season 3 on my anime list. It has about an 8. It's 7.97. So if I take the same guy, and like a modern good boy, I'm actually showing this on the feed. It only took me like 9 years to figure this shit out. See if I can actually pull it off. Let's see if I'm right. So unless I'm mistaken, they don't even. Let's see here. Where do they put the score on here?
Theirs is a percentage.
Mean
so
score,
average,
look at that.
There you go.
7.9 on any list too. This is the same score for that one at least. But I think the reason why people they hate the stuff from the 90s is because people literally can't look at something that doesn't look brand new now. It's just like gamers aren't going to play games like Lunar because they're old. And if I put Future Boy Conan, if I put fuck me, if I put like Totoro in front of someone from today, they're going to go, this anime looks like dicks. it's too fucking old, and they're gonna give it like a 6. Like it's and that's if I go on my anime list and I punch in like Grave of the Fireflies, it probably doesn't even have that great of a score because it looks old. So all this stuff from the 90s, like people don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
I don't. Well, I don't know. Well, one, I don't know if I. Well, maybe it does. The look thing might be why some people do that. I think the issue is that some people are just not willing to go that far back into their scoring system, right? Like when I made my anime list, I took an effort to go back to be an elitist and put in every anime, even if I watched the American dub version of it. So yes, I did put in the seasons of Pokemon I've seen on my anime list. I did put in fighting Foodons. I did put in obviously Digimon. I did put in Samurai Pizza Cats, even though I've only watched the dub version of it. You know, like that's but not most people aren't willing to do that, right? A lot of people who are using my anime list or any list, I think, are mostly people who've maybe gone into anime in the last decade and aren't going to go and put the shows from their childhood, some of which they might not have even realized. Like, yeah, Metabots is on my anime list, by the way. I put my Metabot scores on there, and I've seen all of it, so, yeah.
But it's kind of this idea that, sure, you could make the argument that they're not adding their 90s thing, that people who have been watching it since, like, me it was Slayers, right? Like, I don't think I have Slayers on my annual list, to your point. And it's because I don't think I've watched every single episode. And so for me, I just want to be a completionist when I'm putting things on my annual list. But at the same time, if we're judging people on what they're watching today, I think Mitz's point on, oh, I didn't like this 90s anime because of whether it was plot or the art style may have more credence than the person who's like not rating it. I don't know. I think I'm trying to find like the baseline then, I guess, of our audience members.
I didn't go back very far when I was looking at this because, well, for one thing, there just weren't as many anime, in the past. Like if you go back to like 2000, you'll have a season and have like 15 shows in it, 20 shows. Well, now you got like 70. It's like ridiculous amount of shows. So it's like I was just adding up how many shows had an exceptionally good score. But of course, like if I go back to like 2000, well, you're only picking from like 18 shows a season, so of course they're gonna have fewer well-rated shows. There just aren't as many to pick from. And yeah, I'm just gonna stand by it. Like I'm looking at like Vision of Escaflowne on here. It has the middest fucking score ever. People, this is a sunrise anime with awesome mecha designs, with music by Yoko Kanno that would make your eyes water. Because it's got a bigger budget for its fucking music than some anime completely nowadays, and it still has a 7.6 because it's from the 90s and people don't want to watch it. Like that's basically that's all there is to it. They don't want to watch it. It's too old.
I feel like I just want to, because otherwise this is going to just evolve into like a old anime versus current anime.
That's fair.
And I don't know I think and I'm going to just like quote unquote mind read Mitz here when the statement was made. I think, well, it was obviously in hyperbole to some extent. And secondly, I think it was just more probably of like the last decade. And I feel like that's a more fair comparison to look at. Is this one of the worst seasons in the last decade? Like I said, I don't think I agree. I think it's been, I think what we've come to in this sort of like polarized society to some extent is that things are either the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. And I feel like recently a lot of things have actually just been average. And when you're so used to like things being so great, average can seem like trash. And when you think about it, these things are just average. I feel like this season. That's the impression I got from this season.
Can we put it to the test here real quick, and I'll get us back on track. Look at this season. I'm showing it on the screen. Yeah. This is the current season. This mono anime, which I would rather rip my eyeballs out than watch, is the 6th highest rated show of the season. There's just nothing up here. Like, look at this. Your best anime is Black Butler, like season 700 or whatever the hell we're on for Black Butler. Like Windbreaker, that's one of the top shows of the season. Windbreaker season 2. Like, there's just nothing here. Like, look, where is the highlight? I'm scrolling.
I mean, there's a lot of highlights, but I don't know if they would agree. So, okay, so where are the highlights that aren't?
Yeah, I'm working off the law. I'm working off the law of large numbers here. Like, this is like, my opinion, sucks most of the time. Everyone has a different value of their own opinion. I think my opinion, for the most part, is not the opinion of most other people. I'm an old curmudgeonly son of a bitch. So basically, that's just how I feel. But when I'm looking at these anime and I say, okay, well this, and I've had this conversation before, and not with you guys, but in the past, people just don't get it. But like, if 100,000 people score a show, it is what it is. Like, my opinion doesn't matter. 100,000 people's opinion is more accurate than my opinion. That's how statistics works. So if half the planet is on, if 20 million users are on my anime list scoring these shows, and there's only 2 shows above an 8, the season sucks. Like, that's just people. The populace has spoken, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. You guys may not agree, but I want to look at some of these older seasons and see if they're any better. But
yeah, I'd
you have
say,
some
like,
data you want to go through.
well, I think, I mean, I've gone through some of the data, but like, I do think the other thing that you're looking at is you're seeing these ratings and you're saying, okay, there's 2 shows that are getting an 8 currently. This is also a season that is still going on and still in existence, whereas the others have had time to close the books and the chapter of the show. And maybe it was mind blowing, maybe it's not going to be, but we're not to the end. And I still think, beyond the data, that this is just such a subjective thing. I mean, one of, like, I think a great example is Freyrin. I love Freyrin. I think it is absolutely worthy of being at the top of the list, but I know, Mitz, you're not a fan of Freyrin, and I think that's okay. So I know statistics wise, yeah, you feel like your opinion doesn't matter, but I think it does, because I think there are people that would agree with you that Freyrin is not all that it's cracked up to be. Whereas for me, I would love to push at that and be like, oh, it's really digging into nostalgia factors that I love. Another great example, which we'll talk a little bit about later, is Witch Watch. I think that likely there's going to be some polarization on how people feel about that, like, that current anime that's existing right now. You know, some of us may rate it highly, some of us may rate it in the dumps and compare it to the Deer show of the past season. But like, yeah, I think there's just a lot more subjectivity to say it's the worst in a decade. I don't know. Like, I feel like I would, to your point, need to like look at the other seasons to see if that's true.
Well,
for myself,
I would say, like, so Mitch, I'm looking at the document, and so 2015 had only 1 show that cracked an 8, but did it have an overall better average score?
Would you like to look?
Was the spring 2015. Sure.
I mean, and I appreciate that, Lady Emery, that you have a higher opinion of my opinion than I do. I mean, I have never met another person that didn't like Freyrin. I had a coworker the other day who knows that I'm a big anime guy at work, and he was like, "Oh, I'm watching this anime called Freyrin. It's like, have you seen it? It's so fucking good." And I was like, I think I literally said, "You won't agree with me. No one agrees, but I think it's mid." And he was like, "Oh, you're fucking crazy." No one agrees, but it has a 9.3 on Mal. I mean, I think it is representative of the people's opinion. My opinion is not correct.
Wait, hold on.
My opinion is my opinion. I'm not going to like Freyrin suddenly because everyone else does. But if I walk into a convention full of Freyrin fans and they all agree that it's great, then my opinion is just like when Bardock fired that little energy ball at Frieza in the Bardock special, when it just disappears because no one gives a fuck. It's just one person.
Wait, hold on. Your data for spring 2015 is wrong, so I can't use that as an example.
How dare you?
Well, you said there's only 1 show that scored better than an 8. I see at least 7 on the list when I go to
Okay,
fine.
Fine.
What do you mean?
So I fat fingered it. Okay.
You definitely fat fingered it.
I fat fingered it. Yeah. Would you like to look at spring 2016?
Sure. Let's do spring 2016, folks.
So spring 2016 only has 2 anime that are better than an 8. One of them is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Oh, I'll put it on the screen. One of them is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable. And one of them was ReZero Season 2. ReZero Season 1. Season 1, I think, actually.
Yep, which was new at the time, yeah.
You know, you can go down further. Like, there's My Hero Academia is in this season. Magi is in this season. Bungo Stray Dogs. So I think clearly this season is, in my opinion, better than the current season. Like, just for My Hero alone, I think it's probably better. But do we have anything in this current season that even sniffs a My Hero Academia?
No, but My Hero
So
Academia was an anomaly though too. Like I feel like that was tapping into kind of the anime zeitgeist and the Marvel love.
Okay, well, what about JoJo?
well,
Go ahead.
actually, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
I think maybe that's more what you're perceiving, right? And I think maybe Lady Emery would agree. It feels like because a lot of these shows at this point, even back then in that 2016 season, we would go, these are some pretty interesting shows, even if they, and a lot of those scores are probably adjusted with for time, as I have weird glare going on. There's sunlight. Okay. Um, but I look at spring 20 this current spring season,
Yeah.
and very few shows jump out in that same way, right? Like either they're mostly sequels, but very few shows are like the next My Hero Academia per se, or whatever else you mentioned, or like a ReZero or something, right? That isn't already part of an existing franchise. Like there isn't that new. And one of the things I expect out of spring, right? Like and maybe that's just how the anime business has, it's sort of like spread out all the shows, but like spring used to be the season where all the big shows are supposed to come out, all like your heavy
Yes.
hitters, and it feels like this is one of the spring season is the first time in a while where nothing to that effect is happening, which makes it seem worse than it probably is.
I I couldn't agree more. Like last year we had Kaiju number 8, we had
Yeah.
Those Who Love Demon Slayers. That was coming, that came out. I'm trying to remember. I remember looking at spring of last year. I was like, oh, these are all bangers. And the
Yep.
summer of last year was, I think you got a little more of Jujutsu Kaisen, but it was really like summer is usually the time where it just dips
Tanks,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this summer we're getting Dawn to Dawn. We're gonna get this summer Kaiju number 8 again. We're gonna get My Dress Up Darlings. This summer's gonna be a shocking banger of a summer season, likely. And so this is just kind of our wah wah season. I feel
Yeah,
like
this is
everyone has the wah wah season in a year.
this feels like a so one of the weird things, it becomes, maybe it's because of all the animation delays and people getting crazy and all that, getting crazy overworked, but like winter had more shows that I was interested in, that I was surprised I was interested in, and maybe it's all shifting. So like maybe they have decided to like, nah, we'll spread the love a little bit everywhere now, because we're getting some good shows each season, which is probably better, honestly, for the most part, to have a few great shows every season. I don't know if this season has anything great, but spring needed to, get dethroned at some point, and maybe 2025 did it.
And that's just our opinions. Obviously, people know that I'm a big shonen head. I like the punchy things. But like there are some interesting things going on that people may like. People may like a lot more of the slice of life, the girl rock band vibes that are being laid out. This is a huge witch season. If you like witches, this is your season. It's the season of the witch, but in spring.
Yeah,
So
well, animes go through trends, right? So like the isekai trend is, for the most part, kind of dying out, luckily. Maybe not dying out, but it's definitely reached equilibrium. Like it went through like its mecha phase, where mecha went through like the late 90s, early 2000s phase, where like so much mecha was coming out, and now and then we had isekai for like the last decade, and now it's sort of like tapered out to, maybe we can just do fantasy shows again, which is, I'm actually kind of happy about. So maybe we're just witches are the new the new big thing until it equalizes out.
which is a new
Um,
isekai.
yeah, but yeah.